Welcome to Pokemon Masters Council. We're coming at you with the third and final Galarian Starter Guide from the home update. Coming at you in June, aren't we, Zero? Welcome, brother.
Yeah, we've got the bona fide, unarguably the best starter in Galar, right? Am I right?
No,
this is
that's
the best
super not true. It's very, very arguable, but we'll get into that right after we give you guys this big special shout out. Thank you so much to everyone who has been subscribing lately and leaving all those likes and comments. We see you out there. We appreciate you, fam, out there in the Pokemon Masters Council. Keep it up. We're on our way to 1,000. We put out that podcast every 2 weeks. Our last one just came out. Go check it out, where we talk about everything coming up next week with Regulation D. But on to the bunny. Zero, I know you're a big fan. This is the Galarian starter that you chose in your playthrough of Sword and Shield. So tell me about it. What do you think of this guy?
I really love Cinderace. You already know this is a Pokemon. When I was playing Jungle in Pokemon Unite, this is the Pokemon I started learning the jungle with. So I love the aesthetic. I love his athletic nature. Competitively has been really good throughout his 1.5 generations. A little stint in Ubers last generation. So I really like it. What about you?
Yeah, he's a fun poke. I like his design. I kind of agree with PMC Sport Ninja. I don't really love it when they do the whole clothing, not like clothing, but where his fur is the clothing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not usually my number one favorite, but once I saw Go in Journeys, go check that show out. It's really good. It kind of turned me around on Scorbunny and Raboot and Cinderace. It turned me around on the whole line. Do you know what I mean?
He's got a fun personality in that show that not a lot of other Pokemon have.
Yeah, especially that Raboot, the emo. He's like Sasuke.
Yeah.
But not a complete D-bag. Anyways, this boy is pure fire. Like the other Galarian starters, they only have one single typing, and that is sort of a double-edged sword. Sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing, offensively or defensively. And then you pair with the stats, and you see that all we have here is another squishy glass cannon. But we got two banger abilities. Talk to me about them, buddy.
First one is Blaze. When this Pokemon gets low on HP, it gets an increase to its fire type moves, so very strong in some sets that we'll talk about in a little bit. Obviously, it could be paired with a Fire Terra for some huge damage. And then we've got Libero. Justin, this is the ability that we came here for. So
this is
Libero.
This is the reason that he got banned to Ubers, and it actually got changed in 9th gen.
Yes, Libero and Protean got super nerfed. Formerly, every time you clicked a move, you would change into that type before you would fire off that move.
So it's always stab, and you're always a single typing. So defensively, it was pretty good to hide around, especially with the Dynamax HP boost. Now, Libero and Protean, what do we got, Zero?
So Libero and Protean received that nerf like we had just mentioned. Now you only change one time per time that this Pokemon's on the field. So say you send out your Cinderace, you're a fire type, and then you click bulk up. You'll turn into a fighting type, you will use bulk up, but then say you use Pyro Ball after that, you will continue to be a fighting type. You will not change back to a fire type, unlike other gens where you would go back to a fire type.
Exactly. So it does matter. It means you need a lot more prediction. We talked about this in the Meowscarada guide, so go check that out if you have not seen it, where we talk about it in depth over there for the grass starter this gen. But for here, it's going to actually be pretty useful in almost every single set we talk about. There's going to be an option, but that's the cool thing, is that it's not an auto-include, Zero. I think there's play for both Blaze and Libero on basically any set, depending on your preference.
100%. I would say only maybe one of these sets you lean towards one more so than the other. Let's talk about the stats, bud.
Yeah, so not too shabby here. We do have 80 base HP.
Yep.
So he can actually shrug a couple of little hits more than you'd think.
Yep.
116 attack. Pretty solid. 75 for both defenses. 65 for that spec attack, though, bro. We are not going to be shooting out any special moves on this bunny. Physical only. And then 119 outspeed, rounding us out at 530. And as you can see on screen right here, we are tied with Roaring Moon, and we're right behind things like that Wugtrio, not really seen that much. Sneasler, that's something that you think has a lot of potential coming up here in Reg D. Inteleon and Dugtrio at that 120. And then that 121-0, we have the Tornadus, the big bird, and then Cyclizer, Greninja right above that at 123, Meowscarada, then Noivern, and then Kilo. So that 119, you're being outsped by a lot of these lead Pokemon, these common lead Pokemon, both in singles and VGC that I just named off, and a lot of these have Tailwind too. That's kind of important for Cinderace, is that you're going to be outspeeding most, just like Roaring Moon, but you are going to be outsped by the tippity top of that meta.
Yeah, some of those are super important. That the fact that he loses to Greninja, Meowscarada, who can type change as well before he does. There's
exactly.
Some of those are really detrimental to his usage overall, I think.
All right, Zero. So this first set we got here today, we are going to be talking about that lead Cinderace. That's why it's so important with that 119 speed tier, because he does outspeed enough to still, and he has a great move pool to still be a great sort of lead offensive support mon of his own. Whether it's singles or VGC, this bunny's got a lot of utility.
Absolutely. Really strong attack. This Pokemon got 2 signature moves, and we're including both of them in this set. We'll talk about what they are and what they do when we get to them, but like we said, we're going to be going Jolly, max speed and attack. We're going to be using Blaze here. You can use Libero, but Blaze with a Focus Sash gives you that really strong Blaze that we were talking about. So, you get maybe taken down to a Focus Sash, then you're firing off these really strong stab Pyro Balls. Otherwise, Heavy Duty Boots, if this is a single set, excellent option, because then you can pivot in and out throughout the game. Terra types, mostly defensive. We've got Grass and Ghost, Justin.
Being able to have Heavy Duty Boots to ignore those, and that's especially important because of his signature move, Court Change, Zero.
So let's go down the line and talk about these moves. I gotta say, before we get into the moves, this is my new favorite way to run Cinderace. So let's start with Pyro Ball. This is a signature move for Cinderace. It is a 120 base fire attack so it's close combat, but it's only 90% accurate. However, there is a slight trade-off to that. This can still burn. Yes, 10% burn. So there's got to be that balance, right? And that's kind of how you find it with Pyro Ball.
Court Change, though. This is what it's all about. We have Heavy Duty Boots. We come in on these hazards that the opponent sets up, Court Change, and swap those around to the opponent's side of the field, Zero. Oh my goodness, it's so good.
So with this, you have to be a little careful with this, right? Because when you Court Change, you will take what's on their side of the field and bring it to yours.
Correct. So you want to do this before you set up Stealth Rock. If you throw Stealth Rocks on their side, now they're on your side. You know what I mean? So it's order of operation type of thing. So it's definitely a player's choice. You might not even put hazards on your team at all, and you rely on the Court Change to shift it over.
100%. That is what I'm talking about right there. Sometimes you don't even bring hazards. You build a team archetype without it. You bring this guy, and he can swap hazards, and he can also steal things like Screen and Safeguard and bring them over to your side. So if you got your opponent has Light Screen and Reflect or an Aurora Veil, you can Court Change that over to your side and make it yours. And then while also swapping the hazards they may have set.
We also have access to a base 119 speed Taunt and Will-O-Wisp. Not to mention, we talked about the Heavy Duty Boots pivot. That's right, baby. This bunny's got U-turn, Zero. I do like Protect. These 4 moves here can kind of be jumbled up any way you like. If you like Willow and U-turn, if you like Taunt and U-turn, Taunt and Protect, Willow Protect, Taunt and Willow. Like, there's so many options. All right, Zero. So we're going to move on here to talk about the singles set. So this is your, like, if you have to run your super offensive powerhouse bunny right now in Regulation D, preparing for this is kind of a mixture of, PMC thoughts and perspective. But take us through it. What do we got here? Because this one definitely has a little bit more options for Libero, depending on your play style. But again, it is a player's choice now because you're going to be locked into whatever type you pick first.
Yeah, so we'll start right from the top. You took the words out of my mouth. This is the set we were talking about earlier where Libero is probably the best, especially if you go Choice Band. So if you go Choice Band, I think Libero, to me personally, automatic include, but like it's season to taste.
Because it meshes so well together because you're locked into one move anyways, so why not lock into that move stab-wise?
It just creates such strong U-turns, man. To just
Perfect, yeah.
He will punish you if you switch in and he predicts that switch. He will U-turn your face off, and then you're standing in the face of a potential counter to what you just brought out. So that's why I like Choice Bands. And
yeah,
U-turn.
Easy cleanup after that.
I do love Boots on this set as well.
Yeah, like we talked about, the offensive pivot with Boots. It can't be understated, especially on a fire type. Yes, with the Libero you'll be switching, but with a base fire type coming in before you click a move, you will be fire, which means that's when the rocks will proc.
Exactly.
So it's really important to note that Boots is still great even on this offensive set. Zero. Yep. We have a lot of Terras on the screen right now, and there's another one, Fighting type, that I just couldn't fit. But because this is like, need to season to taste here. There's no one-trick pony for this set. It's player dependent. Hero goes grass. I go fire on this set. But we also put the Steel, Dark, and Fighting because he gets moves like Iron Head, High Jump Kick, Sucker Punch. You know, with your Terra Grass, we already talked about it a little bit before, you know, in the last set, but for here, we could talk about it more, because Terra Blast would also be a potential great option.
Yeah, I personally don't think, like, I truly don't believe that there is a right or wrong Terra for Cinderace because of Libero. So, but one thing to note is,
Terra, because Libero, you instantly have a Terra, double dip stab, Terra Blast of any type you want in the game.
Exactly. So it really just comes down to what you think you are going to click more than anything. Maybe that's Iron Head if you're playing against a lot of Flutter mains. Maybe that's Sucker Punch if you're going up against a lot of Sui and Zoroark. So it really is season to taste. One thing to keep in mind though, Terra is a mask that goes over everything else. So say you go Terra Grass, right? And then you Libero into Dark, you're still a grass type. That's the way it works. You will never be anything but a grass type if you spend the Terra. So you'll get stabs for grass and dark should you choose that path. You won't get stabbed for Pyro Ball again. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. When you Terra, you don't get the bonus of Libero anymore.
Nope. So we're going to flip this coin over and talk about my favorite in VGC. Very similar bunny. As you can see here, a lot of the same options. A lot of the same options we already talked about. But this is it's a different meta here coming in Regulation D VGC versus 3v3 singles. In 3v3 singles, that pivoting set, oh my gosh. Like he could destroy all three Pokemon single-handedly.
Yeah.
I think a little bit more offensive support. I don't know if that's maybe the right way to say it, but this is definitely a carry set. But I think he has the potential to have some support options too, like we talked about with Willow or Taunt. Could work perfectly well in VGC as also Pyro Ball, High Jump Kick, Iron Head Protect, but then U-turn, Taunt, and Acrobatics. That's the big one here, Zero. Blaze is great. It makes it more easy to control the variables.
Yeah.
And Libero gives you that extra damage if you think you have your predictions and or order of operation down pat. We're still going to go Jolly. Want to max out that speed? Yeah, you can go Adamant. It depends on what your team needs or wants. You know what I mean? Maybe you're on a Tailwind squad. But the White Herb or the Mirror Herb is my big shout out for this guy. White Herb is what you saw a lot last gen on Dynamax or Gigantamax Cinderace. Because of the prevalence of Intimidate, you'll be able to shrug that Intimidate off, still be able to hit at full power, booms, and smash them in the face. Mirror Herb is what we have now, Zero. We talked about this before. I think Cinderace could be a perfect candidate for Mirror Herb. And hot secret tech from the PMC, Mirror Herb's great in singles too, because how many times do you see people just straight try to set up in your face in VGC versus singles? You see a lot more Dragon Dance and Swords Dance and stuff like that in singles than you do in doubles, typically. So Mirror Herb could be great over there as well, but definitely in doubles, because you can then force it with your ally coming in with an Intimidate or an Icy Wind. Maybe it's a Regieleki with Electro Web. There's so many moves that can instantly activate somebody's Defiant. They get a +2 from dropping their stats. The Mirror Herb procs. Your Cinderace is now sitting up with a Swords Dance in VGC with a crazy attack stat. With Acrobatics now proc to 0. Why is that important? That your item, both of these items, whether it's the White Herb or the Mirror Herb, that's what they have in common, is that they're items that proc and you get rid of them. You could also run Seeds here. Why is this important with Acrobatics?
Acrobatics, after you've lost your item, and no, you can't just walk in without an item and get this boost. Once your item has been lost or popped, then Acrobatics doubles in power. It's a flying type move. I believe it's 120 or 130 after the Acrobatics, after the boost. So it's a really strong option.
And flying type is such a good offensive type in doubles, especially if my predictions are correct and that Rillaboom comes back in prevalence in terms of usage like he used to.
I think the easiest setup will be White Herb because a Landorus can come in to intimidate you. And you can just...
Or a Gyarados.
You'll pop your White Herb, or Gyarados, great point. And then you go Terra Flying, you completely avoid the Earthquake, and then, you've got the Water type move from Gyarados, all of a sudden that's not hitting super effective, and then you're dealing massive Acrobatics damage. And that, I think, is the easiest setup.
Absolutely. And everything we said before about his ability to go Libero and Terra any type in the game with Terra Blast, that absolutely can be slotted in here if you choose to. But what I'm going to choose to do is either go Terra Fire, and I'm going to drop bombs with Pyro Ball. This is my version of like Gigantamax, Fireball, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, Terra Flying for that Acrobatic stab. And that could be, again, Blaze or Libero. Same thing we said before applies here. Taunt, I think, could be great. Protect is great. U-Turn's great. Otherwise, if you're not going with the Acrobatics, maybe one of those Terra Blast type sets or just the straight pivot set. I think Clear Amulet is amazing on him in VGC 0.
I think so too. I think Clear Amulet is if you want to run like a kind of no-nonsense VGC set. There's going to be a lot of Intimidates if you really just want to deal that good damage. This is a good way to do it, especially when a Pokemon like Incineroar comes back and you want to high jump kick that boy right in the face after he intimidates you. Clear Amulet, you don't take that and then you high jump kick and
you're immune to his parting shot. You're just great shot.
Yeah. The one thing to watch out for though, high jump kick. If you high jump kick a Pokemon who protects, you will crash and you will hurt yourself with recoil. Really, really risky move in VGC. However, the coverage, it can't be denied how good the coverage is, especially with the Treasures of Ruin.
That wraps it up here. We do not have Pikalytics, as we talked about, for all of these in June. We are on the last week. We only have one more guide to go, Zero. Hisuian Zoroark will be out this Thursday. If you did make it to the end of this video, now you know what's coming up later. Thank you so much for watching till the end. We really appreciate all of the support. Leave a like. Comment down below, what do you think about Cinderace? What do you think about this bunny coming into Regulation D? Which one of these sets is your favorite? Anything? Leave it down below. We want to hear it. We want to know.
Thanks for hopping in and watching a set for the best Galarian starter.
The second best Galarian starter behind Rillaboom. Until next time, I've been Gym Leader Justin.
And I'm Zero.
Council's adjourned.